Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hammer Podcast. Today is 10/9/2020, and I'm talking with Jay. Jay attended the Agape Boys Ranch. I'm not sure what years was that, Jay?
'06 to '07.
'06 to '07. All right. So
Right.
we're gonna have a little discussion with Jay, and like I said, Jay, if you want to just start from the beginning, the floor is yours, my friend. Floor is yours.
Thanks, Jason. It's good to be on the show. Finally, I've watched all the episodes with the other Agape boys in Berlin, householder, the other people that are in the movement, and it's awesome to get on here and talk about this stuff with you. But like I said, got there in '06, '07, July. I think like 2 days after 4th of July, 2006 is when I got there. I remember because my mom took me on like a mini vacation to the ocean and like watched fireworks with me and stuff, and then 2 days later I was in Agape, and it was like, see you when you're an adult, peace out. I know it's rough, but I guess kind of like a lead up story of what got me there. Born and raised in California, had really young, just like not ready type of parents, you know what I mean? So I was raised like 3 hots in a cot and like be grateful for that kind of style, like we didn't get a lot of that like love and nurturing type of stuff. I won't get too deep with that, but like it affects behavior as a kid. So by like teens, I was your typical like angry 14, 15-year-old teen, you know what I mean? I had a pretty abusive birth dad growing up. Mom wasn't really in the house, they were always both just like working. We were left home a lot. And then basically, as soon as my mom got remarried at 16, I just started, I don't know, I was like unchecked at that point, you know what I mean? I was smoking weed, sneaking out to go mess with girls, just like normal teenage stuff like that. And then I progressed a little bit to like petty theft, you know what I mean? I'd like steal beers from the gas station and shit like that. But I was never like a terrible, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't real violent.
You weren't a felon, basically. Yeah.
No, like I really was. The only time I ever got in legal trouble was my own mom calling the cops on me as a kid, like so. Yeah. But I mean, that's a whole other thing. But I mean, basically, that's just, I was honestly your typical 15, 16-year-old kid pushing the limits, like I can see how places like Agape where they lock you down. And I mean, if you have a kid that's really can't stay off drugs and is, like you're worried about keeping them alive, Agape will probably do that for you. Just like a PSA, if parents out there still wondering, like, yes, it kept me alive. It kept some other people alive, might have kept us from killing ourselves, but also, when you try to kill yourself there, you don't get any help or, nurturing or like, hey, what's going on? You get beat up more. You get humiliated by the staff. You get yanked off more privileges. You lose your breakfast the next day. You lose your shoelace. Like that's right. You've heard some of these other punishments from these other guys, and I'll just corroborate it, I guess, because it's all true. Like no one's lying on here. I was there, 06, 07, so it's peak Brian Clemenson era. People that have heard the show or been to Agape know who I'm talking about. It's he's the founder, Jim Clemenson's son, and he's basically like the de facto, you know what I mean? He's his consigliere, if you will. He's Jim's, the big don of the whole thing, but he just sits there in his armchair and just watches us just get lit up. Brian's the one that does the lighting, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Brian's,
yeah.
Remember times, man, he would, and like how people say too, he's just nasty when it comes to restraints and physical abuse. I saw him smack kids around, elbowing kids. That Jurassic elbow is a very real thing. Funny story, the guy who actually wrote that original post now about the Jurassic elbow, Mike Burnett, I can say his name because he's there on the internet. Yeah. He wrote that like 10 years ago though, and I was actually there. I got there at the same time with that guy. So I can 100% vouch that now infamous review is very real. He's the one that first said, like, yeah, this Jurassic elbow, he would brag about it, how much it would fuck us up and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, everything, Brian, this guy, I'm truly convinced he's a sadistic weirdo that somehow got some kind of pleasure out of it. I don't know his dad beat him. That's just the way they were raised, or just something. But the only time I ever saw this guy smile was when he was torturing a kid, straight up. And he would get,
Wow.
it's kind of funny, but like it's messed up. And he would like how people have described, he'd get this just freak look in his eyes of just like, I'm gonna, you know what I mean? I'm gonna make your life hell. He took a liking to me, I think, because I was 17 when I got there, like already, you know what I mean? Kind of self-assured, and where I could tell what the program is pretty quickly. You know, I was like, they want to just break me all the way down, you know, leave me with just no self-esteem, no nothing, just to where I have nothing to do but accept all their Jesus crap, all their, you know, yeah, this is awesome, be a staff member, stay here forever, praise, you know, like I knew, like, man, this is borderline like cultish. I knew it was like a prison bid, basically. I was like, I'm here for a year and maybe some change, try to get my GED and just, you know what I mean, come out alive, move on with life type of thing.
When you first got there, kind of like James Griffey's story, did they drop you off at the golf course, or did they drop you off at the place?
The golf course. No, I got pretty much the same. Seems like the same rundown as pretty much everyone else. I got yanked out of my bed by two club bouncers at like 2 a.m., whatever it was. Just confused as hell, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember, these guys pretty much ripped me up, super aggressive, pretty much easy way, hard way talk, you know, all that. And my mom, I remember just being like, what? Like, where am I going? And my mom came in real quick and tried to tell me, like, oh, you know, long story short, just worried about you and blah, 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 blah. So I did get the kind of the posture, or the posturing of the place that everyone else got, as far as like, oh, you're going to train horses and ride horses and and play croquet and just like I didn't know what boarding school was at this point. I was a inner city suburb kid, you know what I mean? Like went to public schools and all this, and I was just thinking like, okay, like I'm gonna, you know what I mean? They're wearing some suit and tie and like Harry Potter shit. Like I have no idea, but they made it sound like it was like a real like recovery, you know, like. I think, and I honestly do think to this day, my parents and probably a lot of other parents really believed that it was going to be that way, that it was supposed to be like how they made it sound, you know, like we were really going to be there just learning how to work and like, you know, like learning to work, like learning trades, like really having like some, I mean, they knew we needed like a boot camp kind of regimen to like get us in shape, but I think they still thought we were going to be like I genuinely loved or cared for. There was no love at this place, like other kids have said. No love. Like, we were treated worse than life. We used to joke about how we were jealous of like the llamas and the horses because they got treated better than us. Like no lie.
Well,
they hated.
I'm sure they figured it was a Christian place. So if it's a Christian place, well, they're good. They're going to be nice. Everything's going to be great. But that's not how it works.
It's a big tears a lot of families apart too. Because there's parents that have good intentions, I guess, for just, you know, like, I want my kid to love the Lord like me and all that. But like anything else, I mean, especially religion, you can't force it down a kid's throat. Like they're going to, you know what I mean? They're going to become their own person. And just the whole blueprint of that place is just, it's so wrong, man. It's so, there's kids that come there from different you know what I mean? Different Middle Eastern backgrounds. Sometimes there was kids, I think, that came from Muslim families somehow. I don't know why they would send them there, but there was kids that were, you know, that would have like Middle Eastern sounding names, and the staff would pick on them and say, you know what I mean? Just bullshit, just hater stuff about Islam, even though they don't know nothing about it. They would, oh man, their sermons in church, everybody's a piece of shit that's going to hell. Even like other Christian denominations, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
This independent, like people don't, this independent fundamental Baptist thing is really some kooky shit, man. Like it's its own little cult.
Right. If you don't believe how they believe,
you're going straight to hell.
Yeah, you're going straight to hell, man. That's it. I mean, like I told Amanda and James on one of the podcasts, I said, if you want to know what's wrong with the First Baptist Church, go to the Second Baptist Church. They'll tell you exactly what's wrong with that one.
But if you notice, too, they all
hate each other.
And when programs like fall apart or someone decides they're not getting enough piece of the pie, they just take the blueprint and go make one of these fucking schools on their own and realize they can get rich. You know, they're like, shit, $1,000 or $2,000 a month per kid. I bring in 50 kids a month, you know, like adds up, you know, it's legal hustling, if you will. It's like trafficking,
How was the food?
hit or miss. Like some people say, yeah, it was really good and it was really bad. From my time there, I remember it being a mix of like maybe 2 or 3 days out of the week we'd get like one of those nice cooked meals where like all the staff wives would make it, and like it would be pretty good, you know. Like we'd get some, I don't know, like enchiladas, tacos, that kind of thing.
Right.
We'd have like a spaghetti night once a week, salad bar. But I mean, for every like decent meal, I remember eating like crunchy, undercooked rice, like just prison style bologna sandwiches, you know what I mean? Just like old bread, just a piece of cheese, a piece of bologna, like, lots of just cheap shit like that. I'm pretty sure most of our food they fed us with was just like church donated, like Cisco Banta, which is pretty much what they feed prisoners too, you know what I mean? Just super high carb, super high sodium, like cheap, shitty protein.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally came there in great shape too, like other guys were saying. Like I was into weightlifting and athletics and stuff in high school, and I came there and just melted away in a just weak little concentration camp motherfucker. Like, I remember, I mean, some guys get there and just with how much stress you're under, and some guys are on medication and, you know, for mental stuff, and they just rip them off that, like cold turkey first night. And then, you know, like first few nights you're getting there, I remember guys, they couldn't eat their pancake for breakfast the first morning because they're just stressed out and just, you know, their body's in shock and shit.
Yeah.
So that same pancake, like half of a cold, wet, soggy pancake, they will rewrap that shit in saran wrap and keep bringing it out to you every meal until you want to finish that. And it's not like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you could have this pancake from Monday morning, and if you just couldn't get it down the rest of the day, like you're eating that shit still Tuesday lunch. If you know what I mean? And it's fucked up.
It kind of sounds worse in prison.
And it's funny that you say that because I personally I got out and knew I could never go to prison. You know, that's been like just my number one goal in life, really, to just check myself and keep myself free and alive.
Right.
But a very large percentage of us end up going to prison. And from the guys I talk to, they're like, bro, I'll take state pen over Agape any day. Like at least you still have your small little freedoms. You can make friends. You can, you know what I mean? Pick up a hobby, and like there's nothing here. Not allowed to take, you're stripped of everything, like everyone says, you know, when you get there. And you're pretty much not allowed to take in any material for however long you're there besides their sermons, King James Bible, and PACE Christian acceleration packets, whatever the garbage.
That's the Baptist thing, the King James Bible. It has to be.
It's a King James version, which means this guy changed it to how he saw fit.
Well, they have two King James Bibles. They have the regular one from 1611.
Yeah.
And then they have the new revised King James Bible. And that Bible, the newest one, is straight from the devil. That's straight from hell.
Of course.
So they do the King James 1611 Bible. That one there. All the thee, thou, and thines. They love that stuff, man.
I do. Man, it's funny. While you're there, I'm telling you, like you are so ingrained in the Bible. I used to have. I think even just to get out of orientation, like orange shirt, where you're like total lockdown, no privileges.
Yeah.
I want to say you have to memorize every single book of the Bible. At least during my time there, I'm pretty sure that was the thing. I remember having to. I think there's like 50 of them or whatever, but you do that. You know, you get motivated real quick when you're like, that's my only way out of.
Oh yeah.
8 hours of working out all day, and you know what I mean, no schoolwork, no extra food, no, like you're starving all the time, thirsty too, like other people have said. You get you'd be on a work crew for 6 hours, you get once an hour they'll call us over like pigs, you know, like get in line, you get a 3-second step off the hose. Seriously though, like it's awful, like inhumane, like just they would line us up and just like like three sips of 3 seconds out of the hose water, you know what I mean? Then you're done. It's like 100 degrees Missouri, like middle of the summer.
Right.
Awful. Man. Sometimes we would work too. We really would like churn out like real landscaping, real projects. Like we built buildings, and then sometimes they would just make us move a pile of rocks like a couple 100 yards away. I think just to like watch us and just talk shit to us while we did it, you know.
Did they ever make you dig holes?
I'm sure I remember digging some holes for whatever, either like pipes or something like that. But yeah, I heard the other guy's story about digging one and then fill it up and go dig another one. Yeah. I'm sure that happened to some kids, man. They would come up with all kinds of just personal anything. If you came in and you were just like, oh, I'm good, I don't want to get saved, and like I'm just going to do my time and go home, they would hone in on you and like, no, okay, motherfucker, like we're gonna see how far you can whatever. Yeah.
So
He
so
could
when, so when you got there, you had to get a buddy, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Luckily, I was a little older and just, I don't know, I went with I didn't give him any problems my first couple of weeks, you know what I mean? I did my workouts and shit. So I want to say I was off buddy status within like 2 weeks. Or they also, there's like a football camp that goes on every year too.
Oh,
And the
really?
timing, right when I got sent there and was like getting ready to get off buddy status, they went to football camp. So it kind of, they were, I think the staff in charge of that was kind of like, you're probably good. And he didn't, yeah. Because I was 17, I was like, I'm not going to run away, obviously. Like, I know I just got to do my 11 months and some change here, my year bid in the
Right.
slam.
In the slammer.
Yeah. And still, man, kids talk about this too until they're like 25, some guys still have them, I guess, in their 30s, but vivid nightmares where even like it's a lucid dream, you're dreaming, you're over 18 and a grown man now. But for whatever reason, you're trapped at Agape in these dreams. And like, Brian's still there, and he can like give you the same punishments. Like I had, man, even like throughout my time in the military, I'd be on deployments. You know what I mean, with like real life, stressful, like life or death shit going on, and I'm having nightmares about Agape. You know, what I mean? And I'm waking
Yeah.
up, and it's like for the whole, but it's real. Like sometimes it would be this dark cloud that I just could not. And, I'd wake up just like, ugh. And I just, I couldn't talk to
It fucks with your
anyone.
mind. It fucks with your mind.
Oh, very, yeah. I'd have to like wake up and like re-remember who I was, or like where I even was or what I'm doing, like type of shit. It was crazy. People
Yeah, I
thought I
mean,
was.
there's a lot of people that say, yeah, I got a strong mind, but there's some people, that it affects them, and it affects them for a long time. You
Yeah.
know, and I'm not saying that you guys didn't have, that you guys had weak minds, but I mean, you guys were there for so much, and they stressed you out. When you're stressed out,
Yeah.
you're vulnerable.
Institutionalism like that, and just taking you to your lowest and breaking you or whatever it's a real thing, man. I saw so many kids come in there that just 12, 13 years old, man. You know what I mean? Tiny little kid. Just
Right.
Some of them a lot of them actually were adopted, so they just had some foster parents or some adopted parents just drop them there.
Yeah.
And like a lot of these kids, like some of us were really out there, you know what I mean? Like doing hard drugs. Like there was kids that were really gangbanging, like sexually active, you know what I mean? Like stealing cars and shit back home. And then you have 8 to 12-year-olds who the worst thing they've done is like tell their mommy I hate you or something, and you put them in the same slammer with us, like it all bad. And then there was while just in my year I was there was a couple little younger kids I know that got taken advantage of. We basically all slept in this giant basement full of bunk beds with like the Brother Don guy that people have mentioned. He was the night while I was there. So it was basically just a giant basement, like fluorescent lights on the ceiling. So, I mean, it's not even dark, because they have to watch us, make sure we don't beat our meat or whatever else. And, but no, think about that though. It's like 8 to 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, little 13-year-olds, all sleeping in this giant dorm with like 16, 17-year-old kids who were doing the stuff that I just mentioned. Like it's a recipe for this. That would be red flag anywhere else, you know what I mean? But here, it was. And so much stuff went unchecked in that dorm room. I know kids were getting touched that didn't want to. There was, kids that were figuring out their sexuality type of thing, we'll say, that were consensually messing with kids that were 18 already type of thing. So you have, just foul, nasty stuff. Yeah, just sexual, physical, emotional, all the abuse that everyone's come on and said was there. I'm just, like I said, just corroborating it. It's true. I saw it. I witnessed it. I've seen some of these kids just get so broken, like I said, at like 12, 13 years old, where it's like, what chance do you have to come back and be a normal person, I kind of knew, like, bro, just hang on for dear life. Make it out of here in a year, and you can, whatever, go in the military, move on, have a nice life. Think about some of these kids that got sent there at 12, and they had to stay till they were almost 18. Like, good luck getting out of there and making any sense of the real world.
And
like,
especially, some of the ones that were young, like you said, 12, 13, that are getting sexually assaulted by the older guys. That breaks you.
That's what, like, more than anything else. Like I say, I openly say, like, I was a pretty average, like, guy there. I had staff that, like, hated me and gave me shit, but, like, I didn't ever get beat up. I didn't ever get my eyes black or I knew how to like ride the line of compliance and defiance type of
Yeah.
thing, you know. But what really, the survivor's guilt, man, I can still remember, especially since the last few months, you know, a lot of us have been meeting up and talking about some of this stuff, like bringing it up for the first time in a long time. And I can remember stuff that I buried, you know, completely. But I'm like, oh my, I remember that kid screaming in the middle of the night that someone was touching him. Or I remember that kid coming back, you know, his first night, padded palace for like 6 hours and just rug burn scabs and like limping and couldn't use their hands for weeks, like other guys have said. Like, it's,
Right.
oh,
And the thing they always preached on, especially the Baptists, is homosexuality is a sin. And it's usually, like I've told some of the other
so
guys
bad.
and gals, most of the time when you're always talking about how bad it is, usually 9 times out of 10, you're doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I
usually,
honestly, a lot of us feel that way about Brian, dude. We feel like because he always like, I mean, he loved to just like torture kids, but it seemed like he especially would he would hone in on like an older 16, 17-year-old, like smart, good looking, kind of like self-assured kind of kid that knew they
right.
could probably get out of there and like be fine. You know, like I was one of those kids where I was kind of like, bro, like I'll play your game, but I'm not like making decisions for Christ and going to Bible college. Like I'm just doing my time, you know. And that made him like hone in on me more, I think. And he would walk in on me and just hawkeye me, like punish me for the littlest, dumbest shit. Even after I was 18 and I had to stay there just to like wait to get my diploma, a little fake diploma. He would still, like, I was 18 years old on like a no talking wristband. I'm sure you've heard like some of these terms thrown out there now, like other people that have been and know what
Right.
I'm talking about. I was an 18-year-old on no talking. So that means like a 12-year-old who was in charge of the table could just come up for no reason and just be like, hey, do 8 counts, do push up, you know, and just like light me up. It's weird little, yeah, like student staff culture punishment system where
Yeah.
you also can like gain status by like snitching on other kids more for the dumbest stuff too. Like we would, you know, like sometimes you would know a kid was like on a tear to try to get a promotion or like get a rank because he would just be like watching everyone like in the dorm while we're, you know, like clipping our toenails. They were just, there's a million different little rules you can technically like find someone breaking and snitch on them for. So you see what I mean? It would create
Yeah.
this toxic culture where we're like pitted against each other of like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, like so and so, whatever, like chewed on the end of his pencil cap, like take him to staff and like stupid shit,
Yeah.
stupid shit.
And the thing
I,
is,
some of us
the
still have guilt about treating each other like shit under those
yeah.
conditions, you know, duress, I guess. But that's what they wanted.
These Baptists always pride themselves in saying they're in the business of saving souls. But you know,
Feel like they beat off.
I think if they were actually in the business of saving souls and being nice and being, you know, firm if they had to be, I think maybe they would have saved some kids as far as ones with anger issues and stuff like that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But
Like I said, I
they're in
wasn't a super
right,
violent kid.
but they're in the business of making money, so they don't give two shits about you. All they care about is the money that's coming in. So you go in angry, you leave even
Came
angrier
out
than you
way
were.
angry. I was a pretty timid, kind of passive kid when I got there, and when I left, I was like, and you know, yeah, like I'm never gonna be. Yeah, I had a. It almost did. It like delayed reaction, I guess, to like institution, like where I got in the military and I started wanting to like be all rebellious or just like I can't even believe I made it through the military with such a cav. I talk about that all the time. I'm like, man, I'm lucky. Because I can look back on how damaged and broken and just confused I still was when I left Agape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I mean, it's so hard. Like I never had me and a lot of other guys that went there never had a positive male role model period to begin with, and then you go to Agape and like that's gonna, you know, you're like, dude, don't let another man near me. Like I don't need any dude to tell me what to do. I'm good solo. So I mean, yeah, going from Agape to the military, like I said, it made boot camp easier, but it also, you can start to notice how it sets you back in a lot of ways, like developmentally, socially, emotionally. You know, like people thought I was on some shit, man. I always like made friends and was able to, you know, have camaraderie, but just certain shit that, you know, like would like register with other people. Sometimes it just wouldn't with me, and people would be like, dude, you're nuts. Like what? Like we're deployed, and like You're not crying about your family or anything. Like, you're just, you know what I mean? You're just, yeah, like, I was just
Right.
on some other shit, you know, where people are just like, yeah, like,
You were hardened, basically. The
yeah,
place
pretty
hardened
much.
you.
Like, people,
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell people my backstory because it's so hard to explain Agape, but just people would know, like, okay, like, this motherfucker's crazy. Like, this kid, this fool's been through some shit. Like, he's got some screws loose. Like, solid troop, but, like,
Yeah.
don't want to, yeah.
A lot of people, I'm sure, came out. You know, and they're now. I'm not sure about Agape, but a lot of, like when I did some podcasts with some of the ladies from Rebecca, you know, some of them drug addicts, prostitutes,
Oh, yeah.
suicide. I
Well, we all
mean,
had to like try that stuff because it's almost like you're so deprived of everything. It delays your, you know what I mean? Like, delays normal stuff. I guess, yeah, you should be experimenting with in your teens. So I mean,
yeah,
of course, I looked at, there was times, yeah, I was still like 24, chasing little thrills that you're supposed to do when you're like 17. You know what I mean?
right.
Like, or just even thinking, yeah, with that kind of mentality of like wanting to like get away with stuff when like you don't even need to, type of, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
comes from, yeah, like institutionalism, or thinking you're not supposed to have shit, or like thinking you aren't shit, basically, because that's what they want all the kids to believe. Basically, that's how they keep you in compliance. There, your parents hate you. You're not shit. You're a disappointment. Oh man, I would get called in for my senior sit downs you know, when the rare times we would actually do school and try to get some
right.
credits. Once you were like 17 or, you know, a senior or whatever, like getting close to finishing your schoolwork or going home, they would try to call you in and just basically be like, hey, you know, so like, what's your plan? You gonna go to Bible college? You're gonna, you know, like, we want to make sure you stay on the righteous path, you know, type of
Bible
thing.
college.
Yeah, that's no, literally, like, if you don't, basically in their eyes, it's so when you finish your schoolwork there or turn 18, it's you stay as a staff member, you go to Bible college, or you just die, go to prison, piece of shit, go to like bum on the street. Like, there's no in between. There's no in between, because basically I remember my first few of these sit downs with Leo Lenz, who was the principal while I was there. People have talked about him, and then good old Ronald McDonald. People know him too. Those two guys, man. I know, right? Ronald McDonald. Clown.
You probably would have had better luck going to clown college rather
Yeah,
than Bible
seriously.
college.
This Ronald McDonald guy would call me back there every day and just basically, yeah, be like, so, you know, you're going to go to college, you're going to go to Bible college, how? And I'd be like, no, man, probably just like military or just do my own thing. And that alone would trigger them to be like, you know what, then, like, you're a punk. We've wasted our time on you. Like, your parents hate you. Your parents were right about you. You're a punk. You're not going to be like,
Yeah,
it's no exaggeration, man. They straight up, I still remember it to this day because it's given me fight or whatever, you know, it's giving me motivation to just not be a bum. Because I remember sometimes they were like, dude, you're going to be dead or in jail within 6 months. Like, you're going to, you know, we're all, yeah, we got you figured out. You're a bum. You got the
so
crappy ass, this or
so
that. And,
I take it you don't go to church.
no, I do not. I was, yeah, came from a pretty churchy family, but not like over the top like Agape, you know. But like, yeah, my folks wanted me in church growing up, and they forced me to go till I was like, I don't know, like 12. But yeah, by my like mid-teens, I was becoming my own person, not interested in church, and that was yeah, man. That's kind of like an underrated part of the whole experience. But I think that forced religion and that just, you know, if you don't accept our shit and get down like this, then it's not healthy to do to kids, man. Like,
Right.
that stuff alone. I mean, some of these kids that talk about getting out and then trying to still live by the Agape code, like in California, in the civilian world, like, that's not gonna work, bro.
Yeah.
And it's not your fault, you know. But like, I remember hearing that fucked me up. Like,
Well,
oh,
especially in California.
yeah, I'm just like, you got to move on with life, bro. Yeah, Agape is not real life. It is I mean, if you
No.
went there, it's like its own little city out there in Missouri. It's its own little like cult compound. It's like that movie, The Village, or something. You know what I mean? It's its own little world within there.
Yeah.
And when you're in there, you wouldn't even think about what's outside because it's not.
And
It's
the thing
a
is,
prison.
it's still operating,
Yeah,
from what I
I
hear.
guess, and I guess Brian would like left for a while. Was on different hiatuses or opening different schools.
Yeah.
That's kind of like guys that have been there in the past, like, judge the different eras. You know, it's like, well, were you there when like Brian was running shit? Because that means like, it was rough, you know. And I guess the last couple of years, Brian has made a fucking comeback, and he's he's on a whole nother like late career renegade or something. He's trying to come back,
Yeah.
get his numbers backup or something. So I guess from what I'm hearing, it's they've changed it a lot over the years, the program, to try to just fly under the radar and stay. I mean, because they have
Yeah.
been sued. They've been successfully sued for like sexual assault, rape cases, abuse. I know they have because I've talked to some of these guys. They've confirmed it with me. I won't say their name, but I can confirm that Agape has been sued for some of these things. So they know very well what they're doing and that it's wrong and that they're not supposed to. So they're always making little tweaks to the program.
Were the staff members doing it too? Were the staff members doing it too?
Doing sexual abuse?
Yeah.
Yeah. There was
Not
I know, yeah,
surprised. Not surprised.
I think he was like 14, got straight up, like not sexually molested, got straight up sodomized by a staff member that I think it was like a junior staff member, so it was like a student that became a staff member.
Right.
So this kid, yeah, was like 18, 19, and straight up raped this 14-year-old boy. And the kid had to stay there, pretty much got hush-hushed, like had to stay there for like 3 more years, was there the whole time I was and everything. And didn't even get any legal till like I think early 2010s or something. You know what I mean? So like years after he finally went and took some legal damage, and he couldn't tell me, exact whatever, but he said, yeah, he had this. Agape had to settle, and they had to pay him out for that. So to me, that just is like, dude, they know it. They're not. For them, like if you would ask them about any of this stuff, they'd be like, we're a Christian, good old school. But it's like, no, why are you always covering shit up and hiding stuff, changing your program description and whatever else, and moving states when you, you have no license to do anything anywhere. And I'm sure you know by now that they started in Othello, Washington, basically they took like an abandoned, it's called Radar Hill. They basically took like an abandoned old like Air Force base and just made it like a kiddie concentration camp. And I've heard, man, the stories from those days are gnarly. I remember even being at Agape in 2006 and being kind of raised on the folklore of like, no, you don't even know how bad it used to be though, like shit was like the movie Holes, but like without friends, but like no Disney. It was like Holes with no Disney. It's a good way to describe it, you know what I mean? Just like not a summer camp. Like,
That sucks.
Yeah. It does, man. That's why it still bugs me to this day. Like, obviously, I've moved on with life. Like, it traumatized me. It scarred me. It fucked up stuff with my family. But I always knew I was going to be all right. I knew I couldn't let them be right about me. So I've done well in life. But what really fucks with me is that it's ongoing, man. Like, I can remember just how hopeless and depressed and just down on myself I felt every day. And I'm like, dude, there's just some other little kid in my exact same place now, you know what I mean? Probably standing on the same wall, staring at the same shitty wallpaper, trying to just daydream to somewhere else.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean? I was like, there's some kid getting lit up by Brian, like as we sit here and talk about it probably. There's some kid trying to finish his like cold soggy salad and whatever else. Like, fucks me up, man. So just even being able to just, God, I feel like getting Agape shut down is a way bigger monster than like Circle of Hope, even though that was amazing to watch, like people know Agape is just a bigger monster. But in the meantime, honestly, it does feel good just to be able to get on a platform like yours and just talk about this stuff and air it out and have other people that have these corroborating stories tell them. And you know what I mean? Like we're not full of shit, dude. There's thousands of us out here just making stuff up about this place we got sent to when we were a kid. Like, no, it's wrong. It's foul. It's dirty. How do we remember so much of these details 15, 20 years later for some of us? It was real, this stuff happened. It still does. It's wrong, man. We can testify firsthand how much it fucks a kid's mental up, and it can't keep going on, man.
And to anybody out there who's listening, if you went to
Don't
Agape,
send your kid.
well, if you went to Agape and you want to tell your story, like Jay here, there's a number on top of my channel page on YouTube. Just text me that number. We'll set you up for a podcast, and you can tell your story as well. And, of course, like Jay said, if you're seeing this, you haven't sent your kids to Agape, don't do it. Don't do it.
That was really the point I was trying to make. Is if I do nothing else, if we can't get them shut down, even if just in the internet age, our voices and our reviews and our shit talking makes enough noise to catch some eyes of parents that might have sent their kids there, that's a win for me, And like technically we'll never be able to know that, but just if if all our internet talk is somewhere out there and is getting some parents' eyes that are thinking about their kid there and it changes their mind, that's a win.
Definitely.
One less kid in Agape is a win. Serious. That place is no place for children. There's
well,
no
sooner or later, they're going to get shut down. It's just a matter of when, you know.
Yeah.
And the problem is, yes, they are.
Rich. They got to have 150 kids, I think, now. I think it's like minimum 1,500, $2,000 a kid per month. Something. Do the math.
Christ.
Talking quarter, $500,000 probably they're bringing in. Some of these kids' parents to just beat them and feed them jail food and give them thrift store clothes.
And they're getting free labor. They don't have to pay a contractor.
Yeah.
Just have the kids do it.
A handful of kids that were there when the place burnt down or had a tornado and basically rebuilt the school. I mean, when I was there in 06, we were still building like farm, like barns and rodeo setups and like digging ponds. And remember when a new staff member would get there, we would pretty much furnish, build, like plant them a lawn, like an entire little manufactured house, like from scratch,
Right.
A little group of like 80 kids would make that happen in like 2 days.
Wow. Did they ever rent you guys out? What I mean by that is,
hard time remembering that, but I do remember like it wasn't just anyone, like you had to be on like a real butt sucker student, we call them, or like do writer, where like you really worked your way up the chain and got some trust. But I know there was like a certain level where if staff really trusted you, they would take their like most prized like PR guys, that they know are gonna like smile and act all good. They'd take them into town to do little bullshit like that,
projects,
food bank appearances or just whatever, just like people said, to make they're in such a little like bubble, little rural area out there. So I think they kind of know, like, all right, as long as we win over, you know what I mean, like a decent amount of locals, like no one's gonna believe these little shit troubled kids. Because that's the big like theme of this too, is that's how they get away with it though, is because us troubled kids are not credible sources most of the time, because we're like, oh, you didn't listen to your parents, or you just were a druggie, or you're just mad you didn't get your way type of thing. And it's like, no, now we're in our 30s, 40s, some of us most of us are mothers, fathers, college graduates, got careers, so it's like we're credible sources, man. You can't just dismiss what we're saying, like, no, you're just on the short end of the stick, like, no.
Basically, when you were a teenager, a troubled teen, as they called you, your word held no weight at all.
You're like less than almost. Yeah, that's how they treated us when we got there, straight up. They were just, like I said, worse than the dogs, worse than the livestock. I remember being so envious of some of the, like, watching the staff kids walk around, even though we've come to learn that their life sucked too. But you know what I mean? For us at the time, we're like, oh my God, like, they can go to the bathroom unsupervised. Like, so jealous.
Oh. Well, they had.
Now, speaking of staff kids, though, I do want to send a special shout out to Berlin. That's Amanda Householder is her real name, but she likes to go to Berlin. She's the son and daughter of the Circle of Hope owners, and just, God, she lit the fire for me again this year. I know a lot of us just were to the point where we buried that shit. We forgot about it. We're like, man, it's Agape's going to have to, the secrets are going to have to die with us. But it's only been, I think it was like March or so when she started opening up the movement, getting super active, and just seeing how far it's come now is crazy, man. This is stuff that when we were getting out back in the day, we coped, it was a little different. 2007 when I got out, like the internet era was like just taking off. We were like still on like MySpace and shit, finding each other. Now though, with like the reach that some of this stuff has, you can like, man, how easy, how quickly you round up all these people that have the breaking code silence hashtag, and you realize how many of us are out there, man. It's crazy. It almost makes me want to cry because it's like that many lives like broken, But
and the thing is, the epicenter, the main guy who started all this was Lester Roloff. I'm sure you've heard of Lester Roloff. And he started it back in the late 50s. So it's been going on.
They have like pictures of him hanging up there like he's like a god or something.
Yeah.
I kind of like forgot about that shit, but people talked about it.
James Griffith was telling me they named him after one of the dorms. The Roloff dorm.
They did have,
Bucky Tucker dorm and all that stuff. So they followed his teachings. And like when I started this podcast, it basically, I was looking for girls from the Rebecca home because I went to the school there. So I kind of had a familiarity with the place. and this was like in 1982. But
Hmm.
and then one girl called me, and we did the podcast, and then all of a sudden this flood of calls just came in. All these, and it just grew exponentially. I mean, it just,
Crazy, man. The
yes.
networking.
And then it went from there to Victory out Christian Academy, then to Circle of Hope, and now to Agape. So it's, and I'm just
Yeah, we got a real mafia over here,
yeah,
man. A
I'm
real
I'm
mafia
I'm
survivor.
I'm fucking flabbergasted just to how big this thing is. It's huge,
It does,
you
man.
know.
It makes me feel. It's been healing and like cathartic in that way for me. Where I like most of us, it's kind of just been this jacket of shame that we've had to just drag around for all these years, and just
Right,
yeah, all these people come out from all different backgrounds, and some of them look like they're so well off and successful now, like you would never even guess. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've had like mid-aged, like 45-year-old like ladies at me where I'm like, who are you? Like, are you an
right,
Agape parent? No, I got sent to like whatever academy, and like, yeah, like 1982 or whatever, which is like before I was even alive.
right.
And I'm like, damn, bro, like this is deep. Like this is it
I
kind of makes it like more fucked up too when it sinks in of like how big of a like thing you were a part of. You know what I mean? Like this isn't just like one little school; it's a chain of them.
right.
Like they all same ideology and like weird cult master roll off. Like
Well, I've had ladies from the Rebecca home from the '70s that were
crazy.
ads. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
crazy.
So
Goes on. Been awesome just talking to all of them and just yeah, we're all different and what we came from and how we wound up there and what we did after, but the shared misery and whatever you want to call it of that place is something that unites all of us. It's been crazy. Just yeah,
I
talking
think
to it.
I think Amanda called it a trauma bond.
Yeah, that's a good
A
yeah,
trauma bond.
accurate
So
accurate for
yeah,
trauma bond. That's why guys in the military are so close too. That's a good way to put it. It's a trauma bond. It's
yeah.
that shared misery of just yeah, you know how it feels. You know how rough it is.
Oh yeah. There's
Shouts out to Berlin, Amanda Householder. She's a G, man.
Yes,
Protect
she
anybody
is.
else watching this, Agape boys, anybody else. Protect Berlin at all costs, man. She's our soldier, man. She's doing work for us.
And and
Nobody else
and
cares.
another way to get these podcasts out is to subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to
That's right.
Amanda
Subscribe
Householders.
to the podcast
Subscribe
if
to
you don't.
Janine Miller's. All the podcasts that are
Janine,
doing
she's
these,
a
subscribe
victory.
to them. So
Janine's amazing. I like
yeah,
Janine. She's like a matriarch of our movement. I feel like her and Liz Ionelli, Survivor 993.
yes.
We're just
Subscribe
doing
to all
shout outs.
those.
Shout them out, yeah.
Are you on the Agape Homies Facebook page?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Pretty much just keep Facebook just to keep in touch with some of those Agape guys because I feel like yeah, it's the only way to keep. Yeah, if we got off of there, some of these guys would just vanish forever. We're still trying to track down some of these guys that we never heard from again. Probably most likely lost in the system somewhere, because that's
Right.
kind of the destiny that shit sets you up for a lot of the time. But we're trying, man. We're still pushing out here. That's what I always tell guys, man. I'm like, man, we can't let them be right about us. Remember all the shit they told you about you're this, you're that, dead, prison, you know what I mean? Bum, homeless. No one loves you. I was like, you can't let them be right, man.
Yeah.
Gotta keep trying. Gotta keep pushing.
And like you said, it's to break you
Mhm.
mentally, physically.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, when they asked you what you were doing, what you were going to do when you get out, I'm sure they had a smile on their face, like, okay, he's going to say what I want him to say. And then when you said something differently, it's like the smile goes away. Well, you're a
Pretty
punk,
much.
It's
It was
like,
supposed to be like senior sit down, like you do with like a school counselor. Like, yeah, man, like let's look to the
yeah,
future. And if you gave them any wrong answer, like, nah, like I think I just want to go to like veterinarian school. They'd be like, wow, like so that's how you're gonna burn hot, or they would
what a
just go off.
what a bunch of turds, you know.
Nuts, dude. I'm telling you. It's funny too. A lot of them. I've been doing a lot of like looking up old names and stuff. Late, just with names coming back to me and stuff. And
Right,
it's a lot of the time you can look up an old staff member's name, and I mean, I was there 15 years ago now, almost. So a lot of them have left the program by now and are like trying to live just normal, like self-employed contractor lives and stuff out here. But
right.
yeah, I've done some like lurking on some of them, and I'm just like, man, you think all the kids like me that you fucked up out there and just tortured and shit. You think you think it's just forgotten about, but it's like
Right.
you
Were
remember.
there any females over there at Agape that you remember?
staff wives and staff kids like Berlin. That was pretty much it, and we weren't allowed to look at them. So that was just like a note. That's where it was like prison. You know what I mean?
I remember Jared Jakobski. I did a podcast with him, and he was saying, yeah, there were times when have to get out of bed in the morning and the staff come in and you got a freaking hard on, it's like, well,
oh yeah,
what can you do?
Honestly, for guys like me that were, I think, like 16, 17-year-old guys that were already like messing with girls and stuff back home, like that was like one of the most constant things about being at Agape was the constant like deprivation, like horn, like I mean we're 16, 17, like balls throbbing, like testosterone, like to be friends, like totally, like waking up with wood or just horny, like we'd still have to find times to go rub one. Excuse me, but I'm just being real here. Like we'd still, we're in jail, bro. We're 16-year-old kids, like 17.
And the thing is, sometimes I've heard before that you get so like you said, throbbing balls.
Yeah.
Even the staff members' wives who are probably like in their 50s are like,
And jailhouse goggles, boy. That's what we call them, man.
Jailhouse goggles, yeah.
I was talking about that with other guys. I'm like, man, like I'm from Cali too. Like I grew up around beautiful women. Like I always, you know what I mean. I like me a nice looking woman. And I swear, by month 4 or 5 of being there, I was looking at these like 400-pound wife, like just like, oh yeah, like I get that. Straight up.
Hey, that's being human, though. That's being human.
It is, though. That's we kind of just made a joke out of it eventually. Like I wasn't even embarrassed for a while. Like when we would be talking without staff there, we'd start making jokes about like, oh yeah, like Mrs. So and so, and she's like looks like a cow, But we're like, oh bro, like I'd love to get 10 minutes with that. We can look back on it now, like, dude, we were insane. Like we were what? Like I would never like with a pole.
Yeah, it's not sin. It's not lust. It's normal human behavior.
Oh yeah, it's completely
and that's the thing. There you weren't. Thing. Yeah, you weren't taught that. You were basically taught it's a sin, and you guys.
That was a big reason why I got sent there. Really, I was really up until I was like 16. I was just smoking weed and sneaking out to, you know what I mean, go mess with some girls or whatever.
Yeah.
And when I would get like grounded for like months at a time, that's when I started being like, well, okay. Like, and I never had like a male. I had never had like a real dad or I just had like a stepdad that didn't want me around. So it usually leads to the streets. You know what I mean? Where you're just out there and find some shit to do. But overall, that is one constant I remember about Agape is the sexual tension and the depravity and some kids, it would push some kids to do out there shit, crazy shit too. So
even to sexually assault other boys,
and just weird behavior and shit. And some guys, I don't think some guys ever get over it, man. Honestly, there's some guys now that you can talk to them, or you can just like look at their Facebook even, and even though they're like 35, you can tell like, bro, you're still kind of like your brain has not recovered or moved on much since then. It's fucked up. How do you expect them to? Like,
have you or anybody gone into therapy to kind of help rewire?
Oh yeah, I've been in therapy for years and years. I mean, for a combination for the Agape thing and military and family stuff. Yeah, I'm an advocate of therapy.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Sometimes you need that,
For sure, yeah. I was going to say, too, for other guys that went through Agape and are also, like, veterans, there's tons of resources out there for us where you can get your therapy paid for and insurance covered and all that. So there's definitely – it's worth checking out, too. It takes – if you've never done it before, it takes some, like, stepping out of your comfort zone. And a saying about therapy is it'll be hard way before it'll be, like, good or easy. You know what I mean? Like, when it starts off, it sucks because you got to work through stuff and you got to take stuff head on and figure out confusing shit that you've always just bottled away and stuff. But
once you get over that hump, it's
for sure.
It gets.
I've done a lot of therapy about Agape and like trying to understand why I wound up there or how to like fully forgive my mom and my stepdad and it's kind of sad, but like therapy is even as much therapy as I've done, I feel like there's certain stuff that it just couldn't fix too.
Do you have at least a good relationship with your parents?
No,
No. Oh.
tried for some years and years, but just it was always like some peace, keep the peace. You know, like my mom
Yeah.
basically, yeah, just had like this new step family. I was the troubled, just shitbag son. So it was pretty much like get your act together, and if you want to join us sometime, like you
Right.
can. And I don't know. After I got back from Agape, I did. I had a lot of anger, resentment. Like I felt like I still had to be kept in apologist mode, even though I was the one that deserved an apology for that, because I knew it was wrong and I knew I didn't need to go to something that extreme. You could have sent me to like 2 weeks of juvie or like one of those places on like the Maury show. You know what I mean? Like that would have scared me straight. I didn't need a year of Agape, honestly.
Right.
Like I really. So yeah, just I don't know. And then me personally, I'm not trying to just bitch the whole time, but I'm sure guys can relate to this. But just I never got full accountability from my mom for like I really just wanted to be like years later like, hey, I had to just eat this and never talk about it and just keep pushing. But like now that there's all these people coming out and talking about it, there's witnesses. Like
Yeah.
I always just got missed and told I was lying or I was bitter or haven't got over it yet. And when this whole movement picked back up like earlier this year, I remember trying to like reach out to my family and be like, see, pretty much just like, see, like, can I have some validation here that it wasn't just, like I wasn't the problem with this,
Right.
like this place fucked. And I never really got that. So I kind of had to just move. I'm in my 30s now anyways. I'm married, trying to have kids. So my biggest focus at this point is just raising some kids and just saving them from all that heartache and shitty stuff I had to go through, honestly.
Right.
I'm not even too worried about reconciliation with my own parents at this point because it is what it is. Whatever. They kept me alive till 18, I guess. And like I said earlier too, I feel like they had like good intentions. They just got
Sure.
duped to a certain extent.
Yeah. I'm sure they probably heard it from a friend, a church friend, and they
Something like
decided,
that.
and they probably decided, well, he's a friend. He goes to church. He loves Jesus. I'm
His
sure maybe
kids
it's
are
a good.
great.
Yeah. So.
Kids need love, man. Kids need attention and to feel like they matter and that they, you know what I mean?
Oh
Like they
yeah.
don't. I just was totally raised on, and Agape is the same way too. Just of like,
I have.
no, like you're only as good as the last thing you did for your parents or someone older, or you know what I mean, or just
Right.
you're always going to
I
work for
have.
approval of someone else.
I have two children of my own, 24 and 23. So yeah, and even at that age, they still need the attention. And
Of course,
my son's married now. He's on his second year of marriage. It's going great. Call him up every once in a while or shoot him a text. Hey, how you doing, son? I love you, and he'll text me back. I love you too. Just
so,
little
yeah.
things. You know what I mean?
That he matters to you. That
Oh yeah.
you think about that. Because I remember. I know I'm not the only one that just had many a nights at Agape just damn near crying myself to sleep, feeling like, damn, dude, like, what am I even? Like, my parents don't want me. Like, I don't have no family. Like, I'm not gonna have no friends when I get out of here. Like,
Right.
I can, like, yeah, like, what am I basically? Am I just like dead to the world? Am I just a piece of shit? Like they tell me. Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
Hard not having that support system, or just it's confusing, man. Being a young man, we have so much like expectation placed on us, but it's like you get sent to Agape at 15, 16. Like, what do you expect a kid to make of himself by
Yeah.
by his early 20s? Like, it's gonna be rough.
But just
That's why I salute the guys out there, man, that are still going strong and doing their thing and staying alive and
right.
working and raising families, man. Keep doing it, man.
I mean,
Keep doing it.
just imagine those kids that were 10 and 12 and 13. I mean they.
Kills me, man. Kills.
I mean, if
Still
if
hear the way.
if it still affects you now, and you were only 16 to 17, and these kids were 13 and 12. I mean,
That's where my survivor guilt comes from. That's what I
okay.
think about. I
Yeah.
can remember getting dragged off by Brian and just screaming, like terrified, like real terror of like, where is this man taking me? And
Yeah.
they come back an hour later from the padded palace, just all, their clothes all stretched out, hair messed up, like rug burns or whatever on the eyes, or like early bruising, like fucked up. I don't even know how they, because there would always pretty much be like a kid or two that was in like rough shape, like you could tell they'd been beat up. But we still constantly always had like a parent coming in for a visit, or like they just are masterful at just hiding and disguising the whole shit, I guess. Because now that I think about it, man, yeah, how did I even asked my parents? I'm like, y'all didn't think it was weird when you came in? There's kids with like no tongues on their shoes, like doing jumping jacks with their nose on a wall. Like, I'm like, none of that. There was no red flags, you know, where you just thought like some weird shit was going on. Like, I guess they really are that good at just making it seem like it's this peaches and cream summer camp.
I'm sure they didn't beat you up in front of the parents, you know. So.
No, but I mean, like I'm saying, there's guys that would have black eyes or like carpet burn or whatever, like a limp for like weeks after they got beat up, and I guess they would just hide them, you know. They would just keep them in the cuts.
Either that, or they'll just say, "Oh, he fell down, or he ran into something," or you know. So I'm sure there's those ready-made excuses. You know what I mean?
He tried to fight a staff member.
Ah.
He didn't memorize his Bible verses.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, why would you want to fill your mind up with that useless information? You know.
Didn't do me any good. Like I said, at one point I could have told you every biblical book, chapter, and all these verses, and now,
yeah,
I still have like more general like Bible knowledge than most people. I feel like just because so much of it was force fed to me as a kid.
Right.
But no, I've definitely tried to forget that shit. I've spent more time studying other religions since leaving Agape, just trying to like give everything a fair shake, and you know, because I like to be that kind of person of like, well, I'll check everything out, I'll do my own reading, I'll do my own, you know, my own decision.
Right.
So, I've read the Quran and the Torah, and I've read about like Far East religions and stuff. Not because I want to practice any of them, but just for like, you know, like all I grew up on was just forced Christianity and like, oh, you know, fuck Islam and terrorists and you know what I mean, all that like racism stuff about Islam that we have in our country, and especially from like churchy country white people. Like I'm just saying, like Agape people, not tolerant, not, you know, progressive or whatever you want to. Yeah, they're all kinds of.
No, they're still.
They're racist too. I remember them like purposely mispronounce. Like if you had some black kids, you know, and there'd be like a kid named like Daquan, whatever. They'd be like Daquan, like shit like that. Where you're like, why? Like what? You know what I mean? It's like kind of racist. Like.
Oh. They are. They're Southern Baptists, man. Southern Baptists.
Yeah, like they did not like. But I remember there was this other kid. I guess I won't say his name, but I guess I'd say his last name, Dudley. Guys that were there in 06 or 07 remember Dudley, another black boy that just got it so bad for no real reason other than he was intimidating, you know, to them, and they just they gave him hell.
Wow.
They're fucked up, dude. Yeah, they're not good people. They're not good Christians. I've seen them, like I said, I've seen them violate people on just about every level you can think of here, you know? So it's like how someone that wants to stand around and still tell me, like, no, they're great people who care about, fuck you. Like, I've seen it.
Right.
No.
Yeah, they beat the shit out of you, then they turn around and praise Jesus, you know? It's like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
Garbage.
Yeah.
They're cold.
Hey, did you have to go to church services and listen to those dry, boring sermons?
I think we went to like a total of like 12 services a week. It was chapel every day, and then I think on Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, it was like 2 chapels plus 2 churches, or like it was nuts, dude. It was nuts. Oh man, you'd come up with like these mental games like to like take your mind. Like I remember I would be able to like look at the Bible, but I would just like pick out certain words and I would like piece together like a song verse from like a rap song I liked, and you know what I mean? Like just weird little like Scrabble.
Yeah.
Or standing on the wall where you have to just like stand this close to the wall and like not look off. It's like shitty old wall patterns, you know. So you'd like try to make some titties or something out of like the shapes in the wallpaper in your brain, you know, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
just to survive, just for like self-preservation and just to like not be, you know, because if I actually took in all that baptism stuff, I would have gone insane. I would have wanted to off myself, or I would have left there and been some weirdo repressed, you know. So I knew
you'd be one of those street preachers out there with the megaphone out there in the park.
Knock on people's door. I get real triggered now when evangelicals come and knock on my door or whatever. Oh man, I'm like, bro, wrong door. Just leave.
There was a friend.
Sometimes they argue with you though, like, oh no, you don't want the Lord's. I'm like, bro.
There was a friend of mine. His name was Joe, and he said he goes there's a way to keep those people away from your door. I said, well, he goes they were knocking on the door, and he looked in the window and he noticed they had the Bible in their hand. And within maybe 5 seconds, he just rips all his clothes off.
I've heard that one now. Yeah, the old
And
man
he
with the
opens
door.
up the door and he's panting. He's like, almost like he was either jerking off or he was having sex. And he's
Yeah.
like, "What do you guys need?" Just panting. And they're like, "Oh,
Like,
oh,
nothing.
nothing." And they walk away. You know. And of course, they probably put a check mark. Oh, better not go there. You know, that guy's a pervert. You
Heathen,
know.
like heathen household. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. You know.
Yeah, man. So overall,
So,
yeah, glad to be a survivor of that place. That I'm just able to make a decent life for myself as an adult and reflect back now. But like I said, it's always gonna fuck with me and haunt with me as long as I know they're still open and still doing that same shit, man. Just
yeah.
unfair shake for young kids, straight up.
It's kind of like PTSD. You know.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I probably have more PTSD from childhood and agape stuff than I do my actual service time in the military. Like, I had fun for the most part. It was stressful and shit, but like, it was
Sure.
you know what I mean? Like, we came out of agape just on some crazy shit. So the military was like, woo! Like, let's, you know what I mean? No, like, let's go, baby. Like,
This is
I can
easy.
do this. I got some pent up anger and energy and shit. Yeah, exactly. Agape was the worst, man.
Mm.
Just confusing shit. And yeah, some families never recover from that shit, man. I mean, you're cutting off all communication. You're telling the kids that the parents, you know, are disappointed in them and this and that, even though it's all bullshit most of the time. And then they're going and telling the parents, you know, oh, if the kid didn't memorize his Bible verse this week or some stupid shit, they'll tell the parent, like, punk, you know, like,
Right.
still just giving us all these problems. And then we're just supposed to leave one day and just pick it up with our family like it's all good. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way. It didn't work that way for me, man. And I tried really hard. I really bought into, like, you know, I'm supposed to come home and have this, like, big, close family and just, yeah. I had to just go in the military and just move on pretty much. 'Cause
And you know,
always felt
I have to
I
give.
wasn't on it.
You can just imagine. I mean, I have to give kudos to Amanda. I mean, her parents were running one of those
Straight up.
things, you know, and
Straight up. And to
and
care
she,
about, like,
you
other
know,
students at her parents' place and then us agape boys, to me, is just like, yeah,
yeah,
she's
you know.
a soldier for the cause, man.
Oh yeah, I could just
My,
imagine.
my own my own parents, my own family doesn't want to hear it anymore. They pretty much told me a while ago, like, bro, get over that shit,
Mm,
or like stop, you know, like stop talking about it to us
right,
though. It's like unfair to me. It makes me feel guilty, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But yeah,
right.
the fact that there's strangers out there that are more supportive of the movement than some of our own families is kind of telling. I think I think they feel guilt too. You know, not gonna lie.
Are they still churchgoers?
I believe so. Yeah, not like IFB or nothing crazy like that,
Right.
but I think they do.
Yeah. So you just turn a blind eye, I guess. That's some people do that.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, Jay, you got anything else?
I think we covered it pretty thoroughly there, man. That was a good
Yeah.
little hour and some change rant there. Little agape hate sesh.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and like I tell everybody else, I told James, if you come up with anything else, hey, give me a call or give me a text, and we
Yeah,
can get you on
totally. No, I
again. Think of
was happy
anything
to
else,
finally come on here and talk to you. I feel like I know y'all. All right. I guess I'm a fan of the podcast, I'd say. I've already watched, like 4 or 5 of your episodes. So coming on here, I feel
Yeah.
like I know you already. And it was awesome getting to chop it up about some of this stuff. And I know you got a couple more guys coming on this weekend too, right? So
I got one guy, I believe, on Sunday, and there's another
sure.
guy who's also in the military, and he's going to come on in a couple weeks. He got deployed or something. So, yeah, but yeah, they
Awesome.
got more guys coming out, so it's good.
And then these will be posted on your YouTube channel. Is that the best place to find them when they're up?
Yes, on the YouTube channel. Did you subscribe to the channel?
I believe I did. If I didn't,
Okay.
I will
Yeah,
right
if
after
if
this.
you subscribe to it, once the video goes up, you'll get a notification saying that the video is up. So,
I got you. Yeah, I'll definitely subscribe if I'm not already. Appreciate you for having me, man. Honestly, this is a
oh,
great little release there. I really enjoyed talking to you.
and
I
just
appreciate.
just to let you know, even though Lester Roloff's been dead for 30 something years, he died in '82. I did a podcast with a lady named Donna who went to the Rebecca home there in Corpus Christi, Texas, and then she became one of the staff. and the staff, man, I'm telling you, it was a porn movie, basically. They were drinking, smoking, fucking each other. I mean, it
Yeah.
was. And the thing is, it turns out that Roloff, who I thought, and I stuck my foot in my mouth on this one, who I thought was, you know, I mean, not religiously, but a man who believed what he said, And
Right.
it turns out that he has a
Dude,
child out
wasn't
there.
he was raping kids and stuff,
Well,
wasn't
no,
he?
no, no, he wasn't raping kids. He had a child with another woman
That's what it
when he
was,
was
really.
married. Yeah, it's like wow. Just when you think,
I was thinking he knocked up an
yeah,
underage kid or something.
just when you think, okay, maybe there's one person that's good in this, in this thing. Nope. It-
I'm way too jaded to ever like look at like pastors and just leaders and basically anyone that gets like too spiffy and like smiles and tries to like talk too much of a game publicly. I'm weary of. And
yeah.
I know that's bad, like I know it's a bad jaded way to be, but I am like even just like
No,
PR people.
being
Even in
one.
the military, I would always butt heads with those kind of people that were
Yeah.
just the real, like handshake and like comb over hair and just like kiss ass type of thing. I'm just like I can't
Comb
trust
over
you. Like
hair.
you know what I mean? They're like we
Yeah.
call them like sharp troop. That's
Yeah.
what they call them. Real, just like by the book, just trying to be everything you think you're supposed to be, kind of thing.
It's
But
just
yeah,
one of those things, I mean, me personally, I don't trust any pastor. I mean, I think they're just out to get money.
no, yeah.
Do
Just
they?
like anybody else, the
Yeah.
hustle.
Do they believe what they preach? Maybe some do. Maybe some are just doing it for the money. You can't
Yeah.
tell. You
It
know.
sure seems that most of them end up being creeps or whatever behind the scene, or cheating on their wife or whatever else. It's like how I'm
Yeah.
supposed to sit listen to this guy tell me how to live my life.
Yeah. Right.
You're not setting the bar too high there, General. You're not
They're
setting a good
they're low hanging fruit as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You just don't even bother with them. So, but anyway, Jay, I'm going to end the podcast. Stay on the line. I'll chit chat with you a little bit. Okay. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for the Hammer Podcast, I'm Jason. You take care of yourself. You take care of each other, and we'll see you in the next podcast.